Hello and welcome back to Serendipity Intended. My name is Tracy Ann. I am so glad that you are here. It is hard to believe that we are almost at the end of Junk Journal July 2026. Today is July the 30th, so this prompt and one more, and we are finished. So let's real quick take a look here. So prompt for day 30 is celestial. And so, you know, the heavens, the stars, and I have to say, sometimes I get ideas right away, or there's something that I really want to use, or, you know, I've got a starting point, and I really didn't have anything for this particular prompt in mind. So I grabbed a few things that I thought worked color-wise, and I'm just gonna kind of wing it. This is the page that I've got. I did have this, you probably saw this in the last video. I did have this, it's a bookmark from a theater in my area that I really enjoy. And I did think it would be kind of fun to include that here. And perhaps let it hang off the back just a little bit. It has a very subtle print on the other side that I thought might be kind of interesting. And so that was my kind of initial thought, was to do that. And I actually think that where it is right now is going to work. So I am going to mark this on the page for the time being. So I was thinking that maybe I could use that and let this quote be here, and then just, I don't know, build a little collage or something up here on the top of the page, and then that would leave me some space down here to do some journaling later on. I grabbed this punch because it sort of looked like a star-ish, and then I remembered in my Christmas stash, I have this kind of heavy metal item, and I don't particularly like the shininess here, but I did think it would make a great template to cut a star out and create something on the page using a different color star. So I thought this coral was great. It works with what's here, and it also pulls up some of the pink on this side. And I also had a little remnant of this background page, and so those are kind of my starting points. So the first thing I'm going to do is just use this as a template to trace out this star onto, I'm doing it on the back, just so that I don't have to worry about going back and erasing it later. And then I'm also going to trace the inside because I'm thinking it might be kind of fun to cut out and see something behind it. Okay, so set that aside for now. And then I'm just going to grab my scissors and cut out the outside of my star, and then I think I'll probably use the X-Acto knife to cut out the inside of my star. And I think even though the template was rounded, I think I'm going to cut these to a point just because I feel like it'll be a little bit easier to do. Actually, let me just cut this off, so I'm not fighting that large piece of paper. And so I probably should have taken that one edge a little closer to the edge. That works. So I've got my star, a couple fun scraps that I could potentially use. And then I'm going to grab my X-Acto knife and use that to cut out the star here in the center. So I used my X-Acto knife and I kept the blade down as I got to each corner and point and just rotated the star. And what I've ended up with is the inside and the outside. So I'm gonna hang on to that little star because that could come in handy. It could be kind of fun. But in the meantime, I have my star and the center cut out. So the first thing I want to do is see, so if I put this here, actually let me grab, I'll use this. I'm gonna use a binder clip to hold this where I think I'm going to want it, just so that it'll stay, because this page is sort of tilty. So what's fun is I can place this here and see what's behind it. And I'm wondering if maybe I do something like this and then put a different something back behind it just to make it pop. Even before I do that though, I think I'm going to go ahead and edge this. And I'm going to edge actually all of the pieces. And I think because these are sort of light, I think I'm going to use black to do the edging. So again, I'm going to pause the video, edge everything, and then I will come back. I'm still working on this edging, but I wanted to show you something. So I've edged, let's see, I want you to be able to see this. I've edged part of this in black and the other part is still undone. And I don't know if you can see how with the black here, it really helps it pop out from the background as opposed to over here where it's not quite as defined. It's one of the reasons that I tend to do a lot of inking on the edges of items that I put on my page because I feel like it makes them sort of stand out a bit. What's a little more challenging is to do these sort of inside edges. You have to be a little bit more creative about how you reach in. I'm sure there's probably a more effective way to do this, like maybe using a small makeup applicator, like an eyeshadow applicator, which would be smaller and would fit into these tiny spaces a lot easier than this dauber. But I don't have any, and I'm definitely not going to stop what I'm doing to go out and buy some. So we're just going to make do. And I think that's okay. That'll be just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and, oops. So I'll reassemble my bits and pieces here and see what strikes me next. So I was thinking maybe this here and then just like that. I need something for this inside piece, and I'm not exactly sure what that needs to be. So let me grab a couple bits so we can play. All right, so I have a few bits here, including this, and it's okay, but it doesn't really do much for me. I actually thought, you know, what about doing like a red and a red? And you know, that's kind of funky. I don't hate that. I don't know that I love it, but I don't hate it. I thought maybe some words would be nice in there. That definitely pops, or maybe some of this because the lettering's a little bit more pronounced. I think I like that better than the book page. I also thought maybe yellow, but it feels like that's too much yellow. It's like all yellow, or maybe like a black brown, which I also don't like. And then I thought maybe something like a lighter shade of this. And that's sort of interesting. But now I'm also wondering, I've got this stamp here, and it's just a little flower, but I wonder if I took the same black ink and I stamped that here, and then had a little flower inside of this heart, and I think that's really kind of cute. And I think the way we're going to go. So tear this off because I don't need all of this paper. I ended up realizing that the paper was too small, so I had to find something else. So I grabbed this because it was similar to the color over here, so I thought that was nice. And then I will just re-stamp in the center there. Okay. The stamp is really cute. I think I'm officially obsessed with it. It's absolutely adorable. All right, so now I've got a star and this, and there's nothing wrong with this. It just feels a little boring, a little flat. So while I like this composition, I think it needs some other something. Oh, let's see. Leave this here. See, I'm not even sure that this is ready to get glued down yet. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab just a little bit of blue tape, because because of this tilt, it desperately wants to slide. And so I'm just gonna blue tape this in place so it doesn't go anywhere, so I can kind of think about what else I might want to do. I think one of the things I'm going to do, I took some book page that is the same book page that I used over here, and I added it, and I think that's part of what I need, but I also think I need just some texture, and I'm going to use that with this walnut stain distressed ink and this stencil. But first I need to glue down 2 of the layers. So I'm going to, I do think I want to put this star here in relationship to the blue. So I'm going to leave that taped to there like that, just to kind of hang on to it. And I also think, so that's going to go there, that's going to go there, and then probably that's going to go there, but I'm not going to mark that one. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue down the first 2 layers. So that would be this one, and I'm going to go along the edge here. So put that here. Did I get enough glue? Yeah. All right, so get that nice and adhered. And then I'm also going to glue down this book page. And I think I should have edged this. Rat. Getting glue all over my fingers. Okay. So I'm gonna leave this and this like so. And then I'm gonna take, whoops, glad I had that underneath there. I would have gotten that ink spot on my page. I'm going to do some texture. I'm not gonna do the whole stencil though. I'm just gonna do some places, and I'm not gonna do it super, super dark either. But what I'm trying to do is create a little bit of texture that will be behind the star. And add a little bit of that brown element. So that's there, and then when I place this here, there's a little bit more going on now on that page. And I do like the brown, but I'm not sure, as I'm looking at this now, that it was the right thing to do. Like it just doesn't feel, the texture, like this is super interesting here, but I don't know that I like it on the page, and I definitely don't like it on this book page, which just means that now I need to find something else to put on the book page that helps me bridge the gap between those two things. And I have an idea. Okay, so I think I know what is bugging me about this page, and that is that it feels very primary. I've got yellow, red, and blue. It's primary colors. They're not true red, true yellow, true blue, but that's essentially what's going on. And that doesn't feel boho to me. It feels childlike to me. So I think because I've got a few things on this page that aren't going anywhere, and I have this star, which is kind of the point of the prompt, that what needs to go, at least on this page, is this fun and funky blue. So I'm gonna take that out, and I'm gonna play and see what I might put in here instead that would still make sense, but would feel a little less primary. That's a little better. And the size of this definitely helps minimize some of the brown that's going on here, but I don't think that that's quite right. I also had a snippet of this left over, and I thought maybe that could potentially work, but it's not doing much for me. I do like the shape of the square. I wonder what would happen if I used a different shape. Maybe this instead. No, how about the back? Oh, that's horrible. Okay, still not sure what I'm gonna do. I have some other things that I pulled here. These are labels from my label stash that I thought might be interesting. Maybe this label here. So kind of make it more of a tone on tone kind of thing instead of, that's a little more interesting, instead of the three colors. I think really truly what's bugging me is that this star just does not make sense at all with this. It's cute, but it doesn't fit with the other things that I've got going on. And since I have this page here, gosh, I think I need to maybe set the star aside and think of something else. Or maybe it's not the star, maybe it's the red. Or maybe instead of stars, I need a sun. Oh, no, I could do a star. Look, maybe if I go the route of a starfish instead of a star, then I'm still going with the idea of celestial star. Okay, all of a sudden this is feeling better again. Okay, I've got to trim this out and do some edging. I'm gonna do that and then I will be back. Okay, so I think I've got something that is infinitely more workable. I added this little bit of red. It doesn't quite match this, but it does kind of pull in this sort of reddish orange over here. And I think it kind of makes this pop. So I think I've got the pieces pretty much where they need to be. I think I'm gonna actually glue from the top down. So just putting a little bit of glue on things to kind of get them where I want them, and then after I get everything kind of situated, then I can glue the rest of it down. So where did I actually put the glue? So if I do like so, yeah, okay, so a little bit of glue there to hold that in place. All right, I'm not gonna film this because I think it's gonna be a little fussy, but suffice it to say, I'm gonna glue these layer by layer. When I've got them glued, I'll come back. All right, now that we've got that glued down, it's a little less frustrating here. I think the next thing I'm gonna do is actually make my label for the prompt and place that on the page, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of doodling, I think. I'm glad I didn't film that because I ran out of tape right in the middle of punching out the word, so I had to reload it and start over. So I think I wanted to put that there and make it part of the page, but it doesn't quite fit. Can I put it down here? No, I don't like that. Maybe like, yeah, like that. I am gonna take off a little bit of this extra and like so. There we go. Okay. So there is our page. Now I'm gonna grab my micron pen and I'm just gonna do a little bit of doodling around the starfish just to help make it pop. And once I've done that, I'll show you what I've got, and then I think that might be it. All right, so it's fairly subtle, but I did a little bit of cross-hatching here, here, and down here, just to add a little bit of texture. And then I kind of rough outlined the star a few times. I also went around the outside of the whole shape. I don't think I used a dark enough or a wide enough nib for that. So I'm going to grab, because this was the 01, so I'm going to grab my 05 just because it creates a little bit thicker of a line to do, oh, whoopsie, to do that outlining. And I wish I'd been a little more careful because I have a little oops there. Nothing to be done about it now. All right, and then I also am gonna go just lightly and around the shading on the starfish, just to accentuate it with the black and to help it pop a little bit more off the page than it already does. So I've outlined everything in black, and now I'm going through and I'm using the black just to kind of highlight some of the features of the starfish and make it a little bit more pronounced. And I'm not necessarily doing every single one. And just adding the tiniest bit. Again, just to make it pop off page a tiny bit more. All right, and I think with that I'm done. Talk about going in one direction and then completely switching and turning around and heading another way. This was absolutely not where I started, but it's definitely a good place to end up. I think it works and I think it fits. I hope that you had fun. I hope that if you are working in your workspace today and you find yourself headed in a direction that just doesn't feel good, give yourself permission to stop, regroup, and head back in a different direction. You might end up with something that you really like, even if it is slightly unexpected. Regardless, thank you so much for joining me, and as always, I hope that you make a really great day. Goodbye.